So we see that a separation in theology produces a separation in cosmology, which produces a separation in psychology, which produces a separation in sociology, which generates a separation in pathology, which we see every time we turn on the internet, every time we open a newspaper, every time we look out our window. Pathological behaviors of self-destruction.
You know, I just want to take a moment as I'm hearing you, Neale, and thinking, you know, just the simplest questions come up. Why are we not listening? Why do we know what it feels like? I think
Because it's too good to be true. One of the reasons we don't listen is it's too good to be true. And you know, I said to God in my conversation with God, I said, you know what? This stuff is unbelievable because it's too good to be true. And God replied to me, and when you know what she said? She said, Neale, sweetheart, if God can't be too good to be true, who can? Yes. So give yourself a chance. You have believed the unbelievable, that you think that God is here to punish, condemn, and judge you. You believe what's totally unbelievable. And by the way, also what's not working. You keep on repeating from generation to generation to generation the same behaviors that have not worked from the beginning. That's the definition of insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. So why aren't we changing our tune? Why aren't we embracing the larger idea? Because, well, number one, we would have to probably dishonor our traditions, dishonor our parents, or dishonor our forebears, those who have gone before us, dishonor everything that they've taught us and told us about how life is and what its purpose is and about who and what God is. And because we don't have any way of knowing whether it's true or not. And so we are afraid of the unknown. But finally, we also refuse to believe it because in order to believe it, we would have to accept an extraordinary truth, a truth we haven't touched on yet in this conversation. The truth is that we are all one, that there is no separation between us and that aspect of life that we call God, and therefore no separation between us and each other, or between us and anything else that exists. That all things are one thing, there's only one thing, and all things are part of the one thing there is. And we are still such a young species, almost juvenile, still a very young, emerging species among all the species in the cosmos. You know, we're very young, and as a civilization. And so we are ego invested in keeping our own specific identity. And we think that individuation is what's most important, and that individuation denies our collective oneness. And so we believe in the doctrine of separation. It starts with the separation theology, Lina. We've allowed ourselves to believe that we're separate from God. God is over there and we're down here. Let's just get straight. Neale, please don't get into this, we are all part of God stuff. That's blasphemy, that's heresy. Those are theological lies, the work of the devil. And it's because God is up there and we're down here. Now, you know what? That wouldn't be so bad if that belief system began and ended there. Okay, so we believe in a separation theology. Fair enough. But the problem, Lina, is that a separation theology inevitably produces a separation cosmology, a cosmological way of looking at all of life that says everything is separate from everything else. And even that we could get away with if it began and ended there, but it doesn't. Because a separation cosmology inevitably produces a separation psychology, individual psyches that imagine that they are separate from everything else. I'm over here, you're over there. I am this, that is that. I am a human being, that is a tree, and there's no connection between us. And to say so is to talk crazy talk. And you know what? We could almost get away with that. except that inevitably a separation psychology produces a separation sociology. That is the creation of little societies. We call them nations, states, political parties, groups of every kind, religions. We separate ourselves into little societies that say that they're separate from each other. They do not share the same agenda. In fact, they are competing for the same stuff. And that's how the world is. Separate groups of separate societies, of Democrats and I can't say the word. Anyway, that other party. That was supposed to make you smile. He's looking at me like, he really means it. He
I
really,
had a different. No,
really,
I actually had a different word in mind. I was trying to understand the word.
so in
I
any,
did from the
in
States,
any
so I
way,
don't know.
and you know what? That wouldn't be so bad. Even that wouldn't be so bad. If we separated into separate societies, fair enough. If it began and ended there, but it doesn't begin and end there, my friends, because a separation sociology inevitably produces a separation pathology. That is, pathological behaviors of self-destruction observable throughout human history. So we see that a separation theology produces a separation cosmology, which produces a separation psychology, which produces a separation sociology, which generates a separation pathology, which we see every time we turn on the internet, every time we open a newspaper, every time we look out our window. Pathological behaviors of self-destruction. Self-destruction. When are we going to stop? If and when we decide, oh, I see, wait a minute, we are all one. There is only one thing, and all things are part of the one thing there is. That means we are actually a part of that thing we call God. We are not God in total, but our relationship to the divine is identical to the relationship of a wave to the ocean. A wave is not separate from the ocean. It's not something other than the ocean. It's simply the ocean arising in glorious individual form. And when that singular glorious expression is complete, it recedes back into the ocean. What a wonderful metaphor, because that's exactly the relationship that we have with the divine. I could, of course, be wrong about all of this, but I don't think so.